Research complete.
This is Group B, Fantasy vs. Rush on New Sniper Ridge. This is a TVT. We're only going to have 2 of these in this round of 16. Just because, well, there aren't many Terran players in this round of 16. And they're divided between 2 groups. So we're going to have this one and then Bogus vs. Flash later on day 6, I think. But anyway, this should be fun. Fun! Hey, these guys have been tearing it up. Get it? Except, I'm sorry, I'll punch myself for that later. But down at this 5 o'clock position in blue is Fantasy. Returning Silverist. And up at the 10 o'clock position in red is Rush. Red Rush. Red Rush. Let's see. Now for the predictions. Here's one from Knockers21. Writes, I gotta take Fantasy and Rush in Group B. Fantasy was probably licking its chops after the selection show, with a group made up of Terran and Protoss opponents, and is coming in hot after the Pro League Grand Finals victory over Flash. His TVT and TVP should take him to the round of 8. Rush knocked off Jadong and Roro on his way here, so I'll put some blind faith in that performance over Grape's superior game statistics. I copied and pasted that wrong, because it ends with game statistics and what? Damn it. That's my fault, Knockers21. I'm sorry about that. We'll never know what the end of your prediction was. Okay, here's another one from Phantom034. Writes, Fantasy to 3-0 his group, using old strategies that made Fantasy the eclectic player he is. The Fantasy build, Biomech into all-in air. Fun. Here's a... well, let's get the build orders. Both guys are kind of doing a semi-wall, I think, inside of their mains. Refinery on the way for Rush. Should be up soon for Fantasy, unless he's expoing quick. The Observer is checking it out, making sure that the refinery is going to come up, but they don't see it yet. Let's get another prediction right now. From Lequinow writes, I want a Flash to see final, which is a combination, I guess, of Flash and Fantasy, which I inadvertently said in one commentary when I was very, very tired. Fantasy. Okay, continuing the prediction. No, never mind. I need a Fantasy final. Thank you, Lequinow. Oh, might as well get to the Who's Screwed, Who's Not So Screwed score sheet, too. Because Fantasy is expanding, getting that command center up. If Rush had built his barracks in the middle of the map, which Terran players sometimes do against each other, because it's easy to float it over for a scout, and you don't really need it in a TVT anyway. You only need a couple of Marines, if that. If he had built that in the middle and gone out to scout the right direction, Rush would be rushing Fantasy right now with a bunker. But luckily for Fantasy, Rush had decided to play a little bit more conservatively. He has the Marine blocking the choke. Oh, nice. Expert block from Rush, making sure that the SCV does not get in the scout. But the factory could have been close enough for that SCV to see. It was pretty close to the choke, but I'm not sure if Fantasy ended up scouting it or not. No, I don't think he ended up scouting that. So Fantasy is going to be somewhat in the dark for a while, until he can get up a scan or sneak in with another SCV. And the factory is up now for Rush, meaning he's going to have vultures first. And Fantasy has devoted everything to the second base. He's already transferred over to take that command center, and he's building the bunker at the front and floating over his barracks to kind of build a semi-wall, I think. He might end up completing that wall with a supply depot. We'll have to find out soon. But this should be enough for anti-vulture right now, this bunker at the front. Might be a bit tricky once the vulture starts trying to skirt by. There is the first vulture coming in. It could definitely sneak right by this bunker. It'll take a few shots, of course, but sneaking inside the main would be devastating for Fantasy. So he's made the right wall, I think. It's pretty tough for the vulture to go all the way around the left side of that bunker without Fantasy knowing about it and pulling SCVs off the line to block for it. But once vulture speed comes up, this might be a different story for Fantasy. And okay, action not heating up yet. So let's get the who's screwed, who's not so screwed score sheet out of the way for this match. Yes, if Fantasy wins, Rush will have to hope for a tiebreaker with the other Royal Roaders. And yes, that's what happens if Fantasy wins. If Rush wins, the winners of the next 2 games will move out into the round of 8, which is a very interesting type of situation, because Mini and Rush will be the next one. The winner of that will move out, and Great versus Fantasy, the last. The winner of that moves out into the round of 8. So that's what happens if Rush wins this TVT. But you see that Fantasy is already working on 2 more factories. Has 1 factory up with the machine shop, working on 2 more for his obvious terrorist tactics with the vultures. Probably researching vulture speed right now. Well, maybe the siege. He wants to get the defense on since he went for an earlier second base. Rush has his second base up in mining 2 now, I believe. And another factory about to come up for Fantasies. We've got factories all over the place, and plenty of factory units about to pop out for Fantasies. He's going to have lots of vultures and trying to sneak by and get the harassment. He's a very vulture-focused player, so he probably did go for vulture speed first. But we'll find out. Lots of vultures grouped up, and then they have the speed, and they're already on their way to Rush's base.